So in Colossians 3:23 through 24, a popular verse, it says that whatever you do, work heartily as unto the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. So that is really kind of the heart that I want you to sit with right now, is that you're serving him. Yes, you're serving these kids, but you're serving him, and that is a privilege and a beautiful thing that you get to do, and you get to be Christ to these children and the youth that you are loving on each week. So thank you. Please keep that in your mind. This is just a gift that you get to give to the kids and to the Lord, and it is a gift to you as well. All right, I'm going to go over a few things. Our overall ministry, just Salem in general, whether you're serving with adults, children, youth, it doesn't matter. We have the 3 E's. And that is also true, or especially true, I feel like, for our kids, because they are our next generation. We are growing them and building them up in the Lord because they are going to be the new missionaries in a few years. They are going to be the ones serving on our commission chairs, and they are going to be the moms and dads in our neighborhoods. And so we are speaking into their lives to equip them. We want them to encounter God and then be able to go forth and extend the gospel wherever the Lord takes them in their lives. So the 3 E's are really the heart behind our entire ministry, just like it is on a Sunday morning. And then I also want to just talk a little bit about some leadership etiquette before kind of the main part of our time tonight is going to be led by Megan Florestano. It's a new ministry focus for us that she's going to be going over. But just some basic leadership etiquette, just so that we're all on the same page. 1, cell phones. They're really wonderful things, but when you're serving with our children and our youth, they need to be put away in your pocket unless it's necessary for ministry purposes. When you're volunteering, just that reminder to be really completely present where you're at. You're not just to stand in the background, keeping an eye, being vigilant. You're to be involved. Be singing with the kids, dancing with the kids, playing with the kids during worship, game nights for the youth. Be involved in conversations, engage them, really get to know them on a personal basis, because when you have that relationship with them, they are going to learn to trust you. They're going to want to come back. They're going to want to be involved, and they're going to see that you feel love toward them, that you want them there, and that draws them in. So be intentional with your time when you're with the kids and the youth. Another part of being a youth volunteer or a children's volunteer is really being cognizant of the youth and children within your group who are maybe a little shy. They maybe don't know other people, or maybe they do, but they don't feel included. Keep your eyes and your ears open for that. Draw them in. Sometimes you have to be that link. And when the other kids see you doing that, they're going to pick up on that. So be intentional that no child, no youth is ever sitting by themselves or left to be by themselves, but that they feel truly included and loved. Also be aware and cognizant with your eyes and ears for the types of conversations that are happening. Kids can not have a great filter sometimes, especially when their emotions are running high. And so if you hear any type of bullying, any type of conversation that does not honor the Lord, that is not building up and speaking life into their peers, we need to curb that in a loving way. And so that's part of your role as well. So make sure you're aware of the types of conversations that are going on. Also, if there's any conversation that raises red flags, self-harm, things like that, be cognizant and aware of that as well. All right, so this does overlap a tiny bit with safe place, but we just want to really make sure that we are diligent. When youth, it's a little bit trickier because they drive themselves, all of those things. So maybe it's still applicable for youth, but especially for our children and our nursery age kids, our anchored and nursery age kids, when the parents or guardians are dropping them off, 5:45 on Wednesday nights is drop-off time. They should not be coming prior to that into the classroom. And if they do, you have to have your 2 Safe Place approved volunteers. If there are not 2 of you there, you need to be able to speak up and say to the parent, we're not quite ready. I don't have my second Safe Place approved volunteer with me. We just need you to keep your child with you until they do arrive. Even if it is 5:45, we have to be Safe Place compliant. I am having signs next to the door in the nursery as well as the loft. I don't have them up yet, but they're going to be there before Sunday. And it will hopefully help curb some of that, because we had a lot of drop-off when there shouldn't have been, or siblings dropping off kids. And it's nice for moms and dads to have the older siblings doing that, but you need to also be able to tell the older siblings, we can't have you dropping off your little brother at this time. We don't have 2 Safe Place approved adults here. So that's something that we want to really be on top of this year. Another point with that, we are really asking that parents are not coming into the classrooms, especially with the younger kids in the nursery. There's just too many little ones, too many toddlers that are really sneaky, and they can sneak out very quickly from the nursery when we're not watching and ready. And also, parents, especially when they're newer, they are dropping off their children and entrusting them with us. And when they see other parents coming in that they don't know, and it's just this conglomerate of adults and kids mixed, we don't know who is taking who. That can be a real scary thing for a new parent. And so for their sake as well, we just want to keep parents at the gate or at the door. And there will be a sign about that next to the nursery, especially. Just ensuring them that our Safe Place approved adults are very ready to help their child transition in and out of the classroom. Yes. Chrissy is asking for an example of what we can say to the parents and adults who are dropping off their kids when they either shouldn't be, or maybe trying to come into the room when they shouldn't be. Yep. No, you're fine. I have to do it on the spot sometimes too. Something along the lines of, thank you so much for bringing your child. We're excited that they're here. We want to ensure that everybody is safe. And so we have 2 adults that will be here, but right now there's only 1 of us. So if you can keep your child with you, that would be great until the second adult is here. Something along those lines. Or if they are coming into the classroom, you can say, that really depends on the situation, if the child's crying or just what the situation is. Yeah, so Peg was just making a good point that when children are picked up by their parents and parents are walking into the room, it gets the other kids excited that it's time to go, even if maybe it's not. And it also gets our hard floor where our toddlers and babies are crawling, it gets it more dirty because of all the shoes. And so we want to keep that as clean as possible. So if they're coming into the room when they shouldn't be, like in the nursery, something along the lines of, if you are needing to use our diaper changing table, it's right here. That is, absolutely open to you. And then if you don't, we are asking that our parents stay outside just so that our other kids don't think it's time to go, or something along those lines. We have a changing table, which was the question. Is there another changing table? There's one in the nursery, and there's also one in the coffee area, handicap accessible bathroom by the sanctuary. So you could, if they didn't want to come in, but we don't really want to turn them away either. So either way, they have options though. Okay, so sometimes there are a little bit of age jumps where there might be a child who is very mature, say a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, who will be 3 maybe in December. 3 by October 1st is our cutoff for our pre-K room on Wednesday nights in particular. Sunday mornings, there's maybe a little bit more leeway there. But we are needing to kind of have a harder cutoff line because of developmental stages and the difficulty of kids who Wednesday nights are not there as consistently, and so it brings a lot of disruption into the pre-K room while they're trying to function. And so as just an example, for like a 2.5-year-old, if they are very mature and the parent wants them in the pre-K room, that is a decision that is made by the ministry leader and the parent, not by one of the volunteers. So if that is brought to your attention, you need to talk to your ministry leader, which would be Chrissy Van Loon on a Sunday morning for the nursery and Jasmine Anderson on a Wednesday night. And then also our pre-K teachers need to be consulted 100%. So that would be Heather McGrew and Cindy Ames. And so that's just any group, though. We may have a first or second grader. Maybe they're the only second grade boy in that particular group for Anchored, and they want to be with other boys in the 3rd through 5th graders. That is up to Anna. And then the teachers leading that room and the parent. But that has to be a discussion, and the final decision is the ministry leader and parents' decision. And I am, as CE chair, I would be I can be consulted if there are issues. All right, I think that is it for me. We are going to have Megan Florestano come up now. And what she's going to be speaking on is we want to really come around our community and our families and individuals who have developmental delays and that sort of thing going on. And we want to just love them well and meet them where they're at so that they are being equipped and encountering God equally well. So, Megan?
I am much taller than you. Well, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Megan, if you didn't know. I have a son, if you know my oldest son, Nemo, and he is on the autism spectrum, for those that maybe don't know that. And it is an absolute joy. I try not to cry when I talk about him because I love him so much. It is an absolute joy to be his mom. What a gift it is. I also have a bachelor's degree in elementary and special education. And it's just been really cool to see over the course of my parenthood how, one, God led me to that. I've never used it. I've never done it in real life because I had babies. But I went to school for it and I have a degree. Good. But how God has used that in my parenting, how I've been able to already have some tools to help with my son, and also just to help in other ways, in ways like this. So hopefully I can be somewhat of a help. All right. Psalm 139, 13 through 14. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. So how do we talk about the people that God made? He made each and every one of us perfectly and beautifully. We are all people with a wide range of abilities, disabilities, likes and dislikes. It's practiced in the special education field to use what is called people-first language. So, for example, if you can't remember someone's name, rather than saying something along the lines of, "What's the Down syndrome girl's name?" Instead, we say something like, "What's Mary's youngest sister's name? She's about 6 years old and she has Down syndrome." The idea is that she is a little girl who happens to have Down syndrome, which is a defining characteristic to help us know who we're talking about. But we want to have people-first language rather than disability-first language, because our disabilities and abilities are not what defines us. When I get that comment about Nemo being on the spectrum, it doesn't annoy me by any means because he's on the spectrum. He's classified on this autism spectrum. It helps people understand him better. It helps me understand him better. But that's not who Nemo is. He is, I always say, Nehemiah Florestano, child of God, made in his image. and that's what matters. So we're just careful with our words, and remembering that there's more to a person than their diagnosis. And talking from myself and talking with other parents who have kids with special needs, there are some things that parents want others to know. And something that I think all of us should be aware too is that when we're ministering well to these kids, we are also ministering well to their parents and the whole family. It's a whole thing. So, active listening is so important. When we're talking with a parent who has a child with a special need or developmental delay, we need to be very present in that conversation, listening to understand what they're saying and not giving advice. Asking questions is incredibly important. Things like, is there anything we should know about your child? This is what I'm hearing you say. Is that correct? What tools at home help de-escalate a situation? Things like that. There's lots of questions you can ask. This is also appropriate to ask when we have our Salem adults come from across the street. We can ask their workers because they also help out in various ministries here at church. So when families feel truly heard and believed about the concerns that they're bringing forward to us, that is so huge for them to entrust their children to us because they know their child best. They know things that are happening in their child's mind that may not show on the outside. They know what their child can handle in certain situations, what they can handle like stimulation-wise, what they can handle physically, what they're capable of. They know them best. So they need to be heard and believed and trusted. And there are times when we can't necessarily do much about a concern, but it is important of how we are receiving them. Next, it is very important to know that unless you yourself are a parent of a child who has a developmental delay or is classified in the special education, you cannot truly understand what the reality is. Assuming that parents are overprotective or not disciplining correctly or something along those lines is not helpful. So we are always choosing to trust and believe and give ample space and grace for these parents as they navigate their parenting. All right, now some hopefully helpful strategies. Something that one of my son's occupational therapists used for his sessions was a red light, yellow light, and a green light. So the goal for the session was that we would stay in the green light, which means we are happy, we're going with the flow, things are going well. Things happen, kids get overstimulated, they get frustrated, we enter into the yellow, which is when we're just getting a little irritated. So the goal would always be get us back to the green, get us back to feeling regulated, and hopefully never get to the red light, which will happen, and that's when we call parents. So just a helpful thing for me, I still use this in my head sometimes when I'm out and about. I'm like, Nemo's in the yellow light. Gotta get him back to the green light. So anyway, we want to minister well to these children, and it takes time to learn about them and about what strategies will work for them. We have to remember that children with developmental delays have varying abilities to process and handle certain situations. Not all of the disabilities are seen visibly or even easily understood. We start by asking parents and caregivers what works well at home to get an idea of what we can do in our classrooms. This child may have a favorite toy, a favorite book, maybe a point of conversation. Some kids have something that they're just really, really excited about. So to know that so that we can engage them in that conversation. Some kids don't want to be looked at. They don't want to have the pressure of being called on. So parents can give us an idea of what will trigger their child, but also an idea of something you can do to help them. calm down. So they can give us tips and ideas of how to make the child feel most comfortable in our setting. Next, we have lots of grace and patience. We meet this individual, this child, where they're at, and we try out a whole bunch of strategies to find out what works. So some things that we can try is giving the individual space to step back, find a quiet spot to remove themselves in a safe manner. We still go by safe place, even if they need to take a breath. You can have a part of your room in the classroom that is the breathing corner, whatever you want to call it. They call it the calm down corner in Nemo's kindergarten class. It was his favorite corner in the whole room. So that is up to you, but sometimes they do just need to take a step back and take a breath to calm down. Another strategy is to find something that can calm them down, like a fidget toy. So there's lots of options for fidget toys. And so things like this is a fidget toy. This is a fidget toy. There's so many. Nemo really likes this one, and I really like this one too. I like to give two kind of warnings about fidget toys. One is that a fidget toy that works really well for someone could also set off another child. Like if this fidget toy works really well for Nemo, it could really frustrate another kid, is what I'm saying. So just, be aware. And another one is that they can always be misused, such as this can go into smack someone in the face. So something doesn't happen in my house ever. Just as teachers, we also have to teach them how to utilize these tools properly. And you can do that however you want. You can have them just be used in the calming corner. You can have them under the whatever it is. But just be aware that you have to also teach them how to use them properly. Make sure it is being used in a useful way for them that is actually helping them calm down. So just my fidget toy thing. Also, this is for little kids, but maybe teenagers too. Something that can be helpful is what's called a cause and effect toy. So this is what a cause and effect toy is. So you press the button, the monkey pops up every time. Every time. Never changes. And something like this, there's lots of things that are cause and effect. That is just when kids are overstimulated, their brain is out of control. And this is something they can control. They can control everything popping up. And therefore, their mind can calm down and come back to reality. So I love cause and effect toys because that can just be really helpful in getting back to regulated things. There's lots of other things too. Kids can draw if they really like drawing, Play-Doh, whatever. Older kids can listen to music. Kids sometimes have headphones. And there are things too, you can ask parents if they have a headphone at home that they really like, if they have a compression vest that they really like. If there are things that are comforting at home that they want their child to have here, that's good. There also, sometimes kids need like a physical break. So jumping jacks or push-ups or something to just like get it all out. Each child is different. So each calming strategy will be different. And sometimes kids just need to know what's going on. So you can have a visual schedule of what your typical night looks like. We start here, we go here, we go here. The night is done. Or you can just verbalize that to the child. Here's what we're doing tonight. Step 1, step 2, step 3. So having a schedule is helpful for them to not have their brain go into overdrive of what's next. What do I need to prepare for? Those kinds of things. So, and also letting them know if the night is different than it usually is, because they need to know that. So if an individual with a developmental delay is showing signs of stress or anxiety in a situation that would normally be fine for someone their age, it's very important to meet them where they're at, trying to not get frustrated that this event seems not stress-worthy in your opinion, but remembering that their brains are not processing this same event in the same way that ours are. So if a moment like this happens, We're trying our strategies. Things aren't working. We're going to notify your ministry leader as soon as possible. And if that child is not able to de-escalate or calm themselves down, we'll send for a parent or guardian. This is our red light moment, and it happens. It's okay. We learn from it, and we try again, and we keep loving them, keep loving their family. So a couple additional things. As a volunteer, when a concern is brought to you by a person's guardian, we ask that you will talk to your ministry leader and or the CE chair, which is Kelsey, to find the best possible way to handle this concern, because we want to be sure that if you're gone at some point, because we all get sick or we're gone, that in your absence, this child is still being cared for to the same level that you can care for them. And so we just want to be on the same level of care. We want everyone to be aware of how to do this best. So just have good open communication with parents and with your ministry leader team and with Kelsey. And you can also let me know too. That's good. And something that is really important to touch on here is that people with developmental delays and special needs often don't have the same social skills as someone their age. So they're not always going to engage in ways that seem socially acceptable. They may struggle to engage with their peers or hold a conversation. So it's important for leaders around them to help them engage whenever possible and when also they allow, because sometimes they won't allow, and that's okay. If Nemo has ever run away from you, it's because he does not want to do anything at that moment except for play with a toy. And that's okay. That's what he needs, and that's all good. It's a good thing. So we keep an eye out, keep an ear out to help conversation, help the activities going, provide inclusion happening so that no one's left out. So we are modeling this for the other kids so that peers can pick up on how to interact with other people, and then they will learn better ways to also engage their peers who have disabilities. And we're helping friendships flourish throughout the group. So we are fostering inclusion. That is our goal. So in conclusion, some just important things to remember in summary. We actively listen to parents, ask questions, try to implement strategies that work for the kids here at church. They work at home. Try to use them at church. Give lots of grace. Let Jesus fill you with patience and wisdom as we all navigate together the best ways to support these kids and family. Try out de-escalation strategies. Find one that works, and it might change the next week, and that's okay. Engage these individuals and model for others how to build relationships. And importantly, remembering always that God made us all special. A quote from my favorite children's book, which I read almost every night, is this is God speaking to us. You are special because I made you, and I don't make mistakes.
Thank you, Megan. That was awesome. Okay, couple things that popped into my head too. If a child needs a de-escalation tool, whether it's a fidget or something along those lines, know that it's okay that only that child has it. You don't have to try and find something for every person. It's okay for them and to have that conversation that, well, this is Nemo's right now, and this is what he needs, but we get to sit and listen to the story. It's okay to have those conversations if that's necessary. If you do have 10 of them, pass out 10 of them if you think it will be conducive to the learning environment. So something like that. Also, physical disabilities. Right now, I don't think we have any children who are necessarily in a wheelchair, but if that should happen or something along those lines, to be aware of when chairs are set up, we remove a chair so that they're not at the end sticking out, but that they're actually part of the row. Things like that. Just always having that mindset of inclusion so nobody feels set outside of the group. Yeah. So Mary Lou is asking about are individuals in our youth group and children's ministry who maybe don't have any type of diagnosis of a disability, or but maybe they have like a sensory processing issue where they can't ground themselves well, but there's nothing that the parent has to say, this is what my child struggles with. It's just they struggle sometimes. What do we do then? Do we just go get the parent as well? What's that line? When do we make that call? That's going to depend on you, your class of kids, because if you have 10 toddlers in your room and one child's inability to ground themselves and stabilize their emotions is setting off all the other kids, even if they're not screaming and crying, it might get to the point where you have to get their parent because it's completely disrupted the rest of the class. My suggestion, though, would first be to find Megan would be a great resource. I'm volunteering you, thanks. I am available as well sometimes. I'm not always here on Wednesday nights. And then your ministry leader, and just see if as a team you can help them to de-escalate. If Alicia Benson is here, I don't know if you know Alicia, but she would probably be a really good resource for you as well. There's a few other people. Don Peterson might be really helpful. So it's just trying to find tools. It's conversations afterward. Even if you call the parent and you just say, your little one is really struggling right now and we want this time to be successful for them. Will you help us make this a successful time for them? So it's not your child's doing something they shouldn't be. It's, hey, we want to love on your child well. Can you help us do that? And it's always a learning opportunity, and to help, for sure, just keep that mindset of we want to learn how to love everybody well. So whether or not they have a disability, a sensory processing struggle, whatever it might be. So everyone needs to be loved well in this.